The government is being encouraged to end the psychodrama, stop the speculation and just name the day as they plan to hold the general election. May, June, October, November, even January next year have all been bandied around over the last few weeks. But have we just had our biggest clue yet, with the Chancellor dropping a very heavy hint this afternoon? LBC's Natasha Clark is with me in the studio. Natasha, what did the Chancellor actually say?
Andrew, I feel like I'm now the election date correspondent.
You are?
I just come on every time that anybody makes any sort of speculation. But yes, speaking in the House of Lords this afternoon, Mr Hunt said that the Treasury would need time to push through a review of Whitehall budgets before next spring. He said if the general election is in October, that will mean it's very, very tight. Now, Jeremy Hunt is not a newbie in the political world. He is the Chancellor, arguably one of the second or third most powerful men in the government at the moment. He does not just drop an election hint like that.
He doesn't misspeak. He doesn't speak sloppily. But I'm not sure what that means. Does that mean it would be very, very tight, so it's not going to be in October, it might be in November? Is that a point to a November or December election? Or is he suggesting it's very tight, but I'll put in another fiscal event, another autumn statement in early October?
He is saying that he needs to get those review of Whitehall budgets, that spending review, done by the spring. So the latest date, he is saying, if he wants to do that for election, would be October. So he's arguing that essentially it would be before October, which is essentially another hint that we've got from the government today, is the news that Rishi Sunak is going to be hosting a European summit in July. It's President Macron's sort of political project. So that's going to be held at Blenheim Palace on the 18th of July. That's another hint from the government that we won't get an election before then, because
Forget May, forget June, forget July,
so
and therefore think inevitably about the autumn.
Exactly. We are slowly narrowing down, and I think that is the clearest hint yet that the government are going for an October election. For what it's worth, I did tell LBC listeners that I thought it would be October last week, if you were paying attention. I still think
you have been going around
October.
Boasting about getting the date right for ages.
I have. And for all it's worth, I think having an election on the 31st of October, which is a Thursday, would obviously be a terrible idea for the headlines. I think it will be earlier
Halloween.
in that, maybe the 17th. That's what I'm thinking.
The 17th of October, we heard it here first. We talked yesterday about all these rumours on Rishi Sunak's future. And of course, this all assumes that he can hold the Conservative Party together for that long. What's your impression of the mood today? Because there was a lot of febrile speculation at the beginning of the week, but already it seems to me to be calming down a little bit.
I think it's, to be honest with you, evaporated overnight. These talks of a plot seem to have disappeared as soon as journalists started asking enough questions and enough of us came back in on Monday morning after a weekend of febrile briefings. Like I said before, I think the mood in the party has definitely changed and some MPs are very angry. I think all eyes will be on tomorrow, Rishi Sunak's appearance at the 1922 committee, when he will have to reassure MPs that he is the man to lead them into the next election. But we've had a few cabinet ministers come out. Gillian Keegan and Lucy Fraser have come out in the last 24 hours to defend him. We haven't seen any MPs go over the top, Simon Clarke style, calling for him to go. I think his position is a little bit more shored up than it was 24 to 48 hours ago, but still, he's not out of the woods just yet.
Let's all just stay calm and carry on. Meanwhile, you can, in a weird way, see authority shifting to the opposition as people focus on these polls. We've got Rachel Reeves on her feet at the moment giving the Mace lecture, and she is already being treated not as the shadow chancellor, but almost as the chancellor in waiting.
Yes, I think that's completely fair to say, and obviously Labour making a big deal about this Mace lecture today. Obviously, the people that have given this before include Tony Blair, include Gordon Brown in the years before they went into the big offices of state as well. And yes, for Rachel Reeves, and you only had to be at that Labour Party conference last year, Andrew, to see how the mood of business has shifted towards the Labour Party, and so many people turning up at that conference and a real energy behind it, that so many of these businesses think that the Labour is going to win the next election. But like you've been saying in your show all evening, we really don't know what Reevesonomics looks like just yet. And I think we are getting a few hints from the Shadow Chancellor about what that could look like, but she is yet really to flesh out the details of that, and that's what we'll be asking her, I'm sure, in the weeks and months to come.
We certainly will. So far, pretty orthodox sounding, as we thought. We've also got a time when Keir Starmer has been in and out of the Commons all day, preparing for Prime Minister's questions. Just your assessment of where he is right at the moment, because, again, he has to almost defer to Rachel Reeves. She is the person in charge of the economic policy, and people are beginning to ask, so what is Keir Starmer himself? What is his real vision?
Yes, I think that is absolutely what Keir Starmer is going to have to answer in the weeks and months to come. And obviously Labour, we think, have got all their manifesto policies all ready to go. know, and
they are readier than the Conservatives.
They are. The Conservatives, I was told earlier today, that work is just starting on some of their election manifesto policies. If that is true, there's no way there is going to be a May election. So yes, it's all signs are pointing that it will be towards the end of the year. But what Keir Starmer now needs to set out next is who he is, what his policies are, and what his main offerings are to the British public. We've been saying this for months. It's not just enough to be anti-Conservative. That is not enough to win you a general election, if not the mandate and the will of the people. So that is what Keir Starmer is going to have to show in the next few months, who he is and what he's going to do differently.